What's up? What's up? What's up? Sorry, I'm trying to clean up my desk real quick. Hey, sister. God, this is so dirty. So today we doing pro-life, pro-choice. It's gonna get interesting today. It's gonna get interesting. How you doing, sister? Alright, I'm waiting for Danesha to come in so we can get started.
I hate all that, but then I made this God.
I was busy all day. I'm trying to catch up to the social media and stuff right now. Hey, girl. Alright, let's get Danesha in here. How do I get you in again? I swear, I be so slow every time with this. There we go.
Hey.
First. Hey.
Hey, so you know Enzo has his taekwondo,
Yeah.
and we're headed back. But I didn't want to leave you alone because I know today's topic is gonna be good, and I didn't want to miss anything.
You could focus on driving, and then once you stop, whatever. So I'll just start off.
Yes. That's what I was gonna tell you because I don't want to be like talking right now, but I wanted to be active in the conversation. All right, so I'm gonna mute it, but I'm here. All right, the kids are in the car too, so I have to mute it.
Cool. All right, so today's topic is pro-life, pro-choice. This is something that is not something everybody likes to talk about. It's also something that, although a lot of people don't like to talk about it because it stirs up a lot of emotions in people, it is something that recently a lot of people have been talking about because of the different things that are going on in all these different states, and all these different, laws or whatever you call them that they're passing right now. So before we get into all that, I just want to tell you how I used to think and how I think now on the stance on that. So hold on. Hold on, go over there, Mama. I gotta do something real quick, okay? I'll be right back. Just give me a little bit. Okay? I'm not going anywhere. I just gotta do something on live real quick. I'll be. No. This is not the time to say hi right now. This is not that type of thing.
Can all of us go to the backyard?
You gotta ask that right now.
No, to the park.
Oh, I don't know, not right now. Hold on. Children. Okay, so back to what I was saying. So here's the deal. When I was younger, right, I had some friends that had abortions. And when I say young, I'm talking about like they were probably like 15, 16 years old. And I remember going with them to an abortion clinic, Planned Parenthood, basically, for them to get an abortion. Now, at the time, I went with them. I remember I told my dad because I didn't want my dad to like think I missed school for something retarded, like it was like, no, I want to be there for my friend and can I go with her? So he knew where I was going that day. Now I remember when we went, there was people outside with a bunch of different pictures of babies and all very, very graphic pictures outside. And they had, their posters and they were protesting outside. And I remember getting upset because I was like, why would they be out here showing these things to people that are about to do something like this? You know what I mean? Like, why do that to somebody? That's how I felt at the time. Remember, I'm referring to me now being around 16 years old at this time. So that's where my head is at 16 years old, okay? Now, this is also coming from that when I grew up, there was this thing about like, pro-choice is what everybody, I would always hear around me. And that was about like a woman should have the right to do what they want with their bodies. And I was in total agreement with that. And I subscribed to that. So I go with them to the abortion clinic. These people are outside. I was upset that those people were protesting outside. They go inside. My friend, I wait in the lobby the whole time. Now my friend goes through the whole process. She has the abortion, and now we go home. Now she goes home or whatever, to rest and so on and so forth. I go home. Now, when I got older, and some of you know about the domestic violence relationship that I was in. So when I got older, I was in a very abusive relationship. And in that relationship, I was raped by my boyfriend. And I know that sounds crazy to people, but when you're not trying to do something with somebody, you're not even trying to be with them, you're only with them because you're scared for your life, and you don't want to do something and somebody forces themselves on you, that's rape. And he was doing it purposely because his idea was, if you have my baby, I will not abuse you anymore. That was the way he came at me, like, oh, but now I may have been, retarded to be in that relationship to an extent, right? But I wasn't that retarded to think with him would fix anything. Like, that was the last thing I wanted, was to have a baby with this man. So I would start, oh my God, had I gotten pregnant when he raped me, I would have definitely had an abortion, because there's no way I'm going to have a child with this man. That was, again, now you're talking about now you're talking about like 17, 18 years old. That's where I'm at, okay? Now, then at 23 years old, okay, I meet who is my husband now, okay? And we got together in March. That November of that year, I got pregnant. Now, when I got pregnant, this was somebody I was with that I had feelings for. I cared about him. However, I was living with 5 roommates. He was living with his mother. It wasn't the ideal situation from what you're taught to have a baby. However, I did want to have the baby, but I remember that when I told him, I remember his response of telling me, my cousin works for Planned Parenthood, so don't worry. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I see where your head is at. You know what I mean? Now, Again, you're talking about too young. We're 20. I'm 23. I'm 23. He's 24. Like, we're young. And I know for somebody who's probably 23, 24, you might think you're not young. But in hindsight, you'll see what I mean about young. I don't mean anything bad by it. But there's a certain level of wisdom and growth that you go through as you grow. And at that age, I was still moving in an indoctrinated way. So I was still moving by things that were told to me to do, but in no way did I fully comprehend or have my own, conclusion to how things should be, or what I should be doing and why I'm doing certain things. Me physically, I didn't break shit down like that at that time. So to me, it was, let somebody do whatever they want to do. And then I also felt, he's already, like, clearly don't want this, you know what I mean? I didn't even have the maturity to say, can we talk about this? Can we do whatever? I got in my emotions, real talk, and I was like, fuck this, I'm not gonna have no baby with some nigga that's gonna be like, oh, right away, my cousin works for Planned Parenthood, you know what I'm saying? And it's funny because when we talk about it now, he's like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. Like, you know what I mean? You're in a different mindset. So when he said that, I remember feeling like, you know what? I'm not gonna have this baby, because first of all, I live with 5 roommates. Okay, it's Party City. It was like the real world. That's what my roommate situation looked like, the fucking real world. Partying every day, getting fucked up, getting drunk. Like, that was what I was living in, okay, in the South Bronx. And he was living with his mom. He didn't have his own place. It was just a mess, right? So I have the abortion. Now, when I have the abortion, I remember he had dropped me off, and then I was supposed to call him when it was time to pick me up. And I remember that you go in, they do like a quick interview on you, nothing really, like a psychological interview, but you go in, they do this interview on you, and then afterwards they take you to the doctor, and the doctor checks on you, right? And then afterwards you go into like the surgery room, I guess, and they put the mask on you, and they tell you to count from 10 down, and all of a sudden everything is black, and then you wake up in this room with a bunch of different beds all over the place, a recovery room, and you're in so much pain. I remember having the worst cramps when I woke up. And then they take you to another room where all the girls are now sitting in different chairs with their tea and crackers. Now, as I'm going through this experience, I'm feeling like a movie type of shit where it's like a plantation of people type of shit. And I'm just like, this feels so wrong right now. Like, just off completely. I couldn't explain it, but it just felt, I just felt like, I didn't feel like a human, if that makes sense. I felt like this is a piece of property, I'll be honest with you. Like, it was a really, really fucked up feeling. So I remember I went back, he picked me up. I remember we went in the car. I didn't say anything to him. I went to bed. Like, that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to deal with nobody. I didn't want to talk to nobody, none of that. I felt like I was still confused processing what I just did. Like, what did I just do? You know what I mean? So I go home. My best friends are there, you know, consoling me. They're with me. I rest and all that. He's there the whole time with me at the house, making sure I'm good. And from that point on, I'm not going to lie, I had a little bit resentment towards him. Now, again, I didn't have the mature, you know, relationship part to discuss it. I just held it in and felt a certain way, you know, because I was like, damn, like, I technically did this not because I wanted to, but because he made a comment, an ignorant comment, and I didn't even say, yo, like, what are you really saying? Can we talk about this? Blah, blah, blah. I don't know if I feel comfortable doing that. I didn't even have the mature, you know, like I said, to do that. So that's not to make an excuse about him, no, but in relationships, it's all about communication, okay? And I've been in my relationship for 16 years, so I'm telling you that I only been this long because of communication. So, and we didn't have that in the beginning, you get it? So it's something I had to learn, okay? I'm only not even a year with this man. I'm not living with him yet, none of that, okay? So at that point, I hold in my stuff and I have this resentment towards him because I felt like I did something I didn't want to do, but only because I felt he was not going to be supportive in it. That's how I felt. As time went, when we discussed it, he kind of felt like, damn, that's not how I was trying to come out. You know what I mean? And now when he looked at it, he was, you know, we discussed it afterwards. It was more like, damn, that's not how I meant to come out. I just thought that this was like, we just weren't in the position. So I thought you were scared about that. So I just brought a solution. But like, he realized also, like, he didn't even discuss it with me. You know what I mean? This is not even discussed. This was just straight, like, let's just do it because that's what we do.
Yeah.
Now, I'm almost done here. I get older now, and I have children of my own. And after, now remember, my first child was planned. My second child was planned, but not at the time she came. I was planning for her to come a little later. I ended up getting pregnant. She came. In my new book, I talk about me going into a depression for 2 weeks when I found out I was pregnant with her because I didn't realize I could love more than one child the way I loved him. Because I was just like, how can I do that? Like, how? You know, or I'm just mentally getting back to normal. How am I going to be a mom again? Like, oh my God, how can I do this? Am I going to go crazy again? What's going to happen to me? I was so scared of all these things. And then when she came, she was the best thing that ever happened to me. Like, I needed her, and I didn't know how much I needed her until she came. Then I get pregnant the third time, but that time, even though it wasn't planned, I realized what I experienced with the second one, that I was worried about nothing because everything worked out. And yes, you have an explosion of love that comes when you have these children, and then you have more children and more children, and you be like, wow, I didn't even know this was possible, okay? So when I have my third, I'm already feeling like I can't wait for her to come because I know she's what I need, or he is what I need. I felt that way. So when she comes, she was like the missing, not even the missing puzzle, but it's like our family now felt like whole. And I was like, oh my God, everybody here plays a place in this, and it works perfect. And then you know what happened? I want to say a PTSD moment of having that abortion, okay? That traumatic situation I held on to for years. Even after me and him spoke about it, I resolved my peace with him, but I never resolved the peace within myself of what I did, because I was under the impression it was not a baby, it was just a fetus, and this is what, you know, my body, my choice is all about. So fuck it. But psychologically, it was affecting me on what I did. So after I had children, I had a moment, and I remember telling Danesha soon after I had it, because it was crazy how she had a moment too, that I just broke down crying, talking to my husband, because I was like, yo, what did we really do? What did we do out of ignorance, out of conditioning, out of brainwash? Because people like to paint this picture that you're not doing anything wrong. But I hate that I'm crying on this, but the truth of the matter is that I don't care how we want to sugarcoat it. I killed my baby. I made a choice. Okay? I know that sounds harsh and nobody wants to say that, but let's stop fucking around, bro. Let's stop termination, da-da-da-da. We know what the fuck we did. Okay? I know what I did. Regardless of anything, that is a living cell. It is a living organism that without your interference, it will grow to whatever it's meant to grow into. And who am I to come in and stop that process when I made the irresponsible decision to take a chance of having intercourse without protection that would cause that to happen? I was not responsible. That's just the bottom line. I was not responsible, and I made a decision that I did not comprehend fully what I was doing to my body. Number one, I was putting my body at risk big time, because anything could have happened at that point where I probably would have never been able to have children. Okay, and I'm so thankful to God that that did not happen. And that's what happened, is that I started thanking God for allowing me to have these 3 children despite what I did that technically was not right. Now, that is not to say that women should not have a choice in what they're doing with their bodies. I believe that everybody do what the fuck you want to do. However, can we do shit with full awareness, full comprehension, and full consciousness of what we are actually doing? Okay? Majority of what is happening, I'm not pro-choice, I'm not pro-life, I'm pro-informed, conscious, comprehension, and awareness in everything we do. Sex, who you're having sex with, okay? Conscious intercourse with someone. If we're having unprotected sex, is this somebody that if I would get pregnant with, I would be cool, them being the father to my children? Am I ready to take on that responsibility if I'm deciding now to have unprotected sex with this person that I care about? We have to think about these things, because again, had I gotten pregnant from the abuser, I would have lost my mind if I would have had to have a baby and not have the option of an abortion, right? But again, we're talking about a young girl, uninformed, programmed into a certain way of thinking when it comes to this, and not really understanding our bodies. We are not taught about our bodies, and me and Danesha talk about this all the time. Once you start to learn your body, you respect it differently, and you realize certain choices you made may have not been the best interest for your mind, body, and spirit, and everything, your soul, everything. So I feel that for certain situations, there should be that option. But what I do know is that statistically, those rare cases of basically, you know, rape and you know, anything crazy like that are very small percentages. What I am seeing is that majority are just doing it because they're using it as a form of healthcare, which I can't agree with.
It's
also as a form of birth control. Yeah, as a form of birth control.
Can't even say as a form of healthcare. It's just a form of birth control. That's literally the
yeah, birth
that
control.
you're doing.
Like, there's other forms of birth control. I know it's a little tricky because all their options for us is fucked up, no matter which way you turn. But we have to know that we're abusing this.
I'll share.
We're abusing this. We're abusing this, and I don't think that's what this was for. It was not to abuse it. It was to know, like, okay, if this or that happens, or maybe you didn't get raped, maybe whatever, but it's just not for you, and you've really come to terms with that as a whole, okay. But we're just having this shit like we're walking down the store to get a fucking Pepsi at this point.
Yeah.
So
That's exactly.
Go ahead.
So I share a little bit of my perspective as well, and what kind of changed my mind on the matter. I also went through a lot of personal things, and I didn't understand what I was going through. And now that I reflect back, I'm still feeling the feelings of what I was feeling then, because I never addressed those at that time, you know, and this is a healing journey. So little by little, we release trauma, crying. Sometimes that looks like, you know, doing rituals. Sometimes that looks like just getting your stuff done and appreciating the life you have right now. You know, it looks like different ways, but it's never ending until you are conscious of that decision and you take accountability for it. Once you do that, then the healing is actually going to have a beginning and an end. But while that lingering state where you don't want to have these conversations, when you don't want to be accountable for your actions and you want to just play the blame game, you're never going to heal, because you've never taken your part of it as your responsibility. You're throwing share still to the game. So to me, the first time I even heard what an abortion was, I was confused. I was like, why would somebody do that? Why would that even happen? Especially when it was being described, the process of what happens when you, I'm very connected to live things. Like, I'm very in tune with nature. It's something that's just been in me forever. I've never gotten rid of that part of myself. So when it comes to like life and things like that, I'm very sensitive. So as a child learning about that, I was like, what the fuck is wrong with people? Why would they do that, right? But then I'm in this country where there's a whole lifestyle and there's all this stuff, right? So I'm the type of person that I need to understand the history. I need to understand who created it, to be able to kind of really get the full spectrum of the subject. You know, like I get it one perspective. I had my perspective already and I had my opinions already, but I was like, I'm ready to hear everybody else's. I want to hear the rest. And so one of the things I learned about first is the women that I wanted to protect. I wanted to protect women that got raped. That's the first thing. I'm like, yo, I'm here with you. And I'm here and I will fight for your option to do whatever it is that you need to do. To this day, I still feel that way. But then I started learning of the percentage, right? The percentage of women that get raped and do it. There's actually a higher percentage of women that get raped and keep their baby than there is of they get raped and get an abortion. So if a woman that gets raped by an unknown man or known and still decides to go along with this, how traumatized are we that we're just like, you know, like you said, he just said a comment and you just went in the office. Or I just saw that this man had other intentions and I went to the office. Or it was just, I didn't want to lose my body and I went to the office. Or maybe it's like, I just want to make this guy pay for it. Let me go to the office. Like that's where we're getting, and we're not realizing that because we're so caught on the small percentage of women that is less than 1% of abortions are from women that get raped. So who are we truly defending? We're defending all the little chamaquitas that are not educated on sex, that got their sex through the school system, so they are not emotionally attached to what they're doing. They don't have a family that's talking to them about what the consequences are. I come from a family and I didn't get those talks. Imagine some girl from the projects. Imagine some girl or a boy who will tell a girl to do that. Imagine those kids. Those are children. You know what I'm saying? So that's where, like, what I learned, who I was defending, and then realizing that I'm standing for a whole bunch of rateros. That's what I'm doing. And then I realized, okay, I still, disclaimer, I believe that anybody has a choice to do whatever it is that you want. You decide. That's on you. But now if we're going to talk about how we're getting to the conclusion of these decisions, how are we getting there, we need to have a conversation about that. Because now you're doing, like you said, the decisions are now based on ignorance. They're not based on financial. They're not based on emotional support that you're gonna have around you, or maybe I'm not gonna have a family. Like we skipped all of that, and we're just thinking material right now. What can I get out of this baby? What is this baby gonna do to me in my life? Like, I'm not gonna be able to do anything. When in reality, the maximum growth of your life happens when you have children. It's the greatest gift that you could ever receive in your life. And I'm not saying that because I'm biased, because it's not that, but it's understanding that everything that you're gonna do is hard. Everything that you're gonna do is hard. You wanna not have babies? That's gonna be hard. You wanna have babies? That's gonna be hard. But if we know, okay, we came to have babies, if we know that our babies come to teach us lessons, and that we're here on top of us teaching them, they're teaching us. Like, if we know those things, we move different. So I'm here for let's inform our women. Let's not judge on what these decisions are, but also understanding that when someone is telling you the truth, you have to own up to what it is that's been happening and what you've been doing, because that's another thing, you know. So for me, it was like, I learned about all of that. I thought it was okay because I was told it was okay, and I was fighting for those women that were not okay, that didn't have the choices, that didn't have the opportunities, and I was fighting for them. But then I quickly realized, in the midst of my investigating and deep digging and the rabbit hole, I find myself in a situation where I'm like, who do we think we are? Who do we think we are? Just here, yeah, whatever. We say so much, my body, my choice. Is it your body, though, that you're getting rid of? Is it your body? Because we got to,
That's the thing.
Yeah, you manifested a whole being, and then now you don't want it.
There's so many layers of, because, you know, the truth of the matter is that majority of people, let's say, okay, so now you have the big chunk that are just being irresponsible, don't care, and they're just gonna have abortions left and right. I know people that have had like 8 abortions, bro, like growing up, like, no lie. And I'm glad they were able to still have children, okay, because that's a risky situation right there. But then you have the other half of people that kind of saw things the way maybe my husband saw it. We're not in the right situation. We don't live together. We're not financially stable, right? But we have to think about what institutions got us to this point that we are not financially educated. We have no sense of knowledge of self. We have no understanding of how our body actually works, okay? We move through our subconscious traumatic triggers for most of our decisions. So then that goes to show me that as a population, we're not even in the right state of mind, because so many factors have came in and destroyed us to what our true potential is of who we are.
Yeah. So
if all these factors are not in there, because somebody who, let's say, probably would never have, you know, an abortion or things like that, and would have one, a lot of times those people, had they been financially stable, whether the father was with them or not, they would have had the baby. They would have had the baby, right? Even women that come to a certain age where they just want a baby, they don't even care if the baby follow around. Okay, yeah. They just want a baby. Okay, now you also look at the percentage of all these children, you know. What was that, puppy? You look at a lot of these women that are having trouble conceiving. They have tried everything, right? And maybe they've never gotten an abortion, but for whatever reason, diet, you know, whoever knows what, they are having trouble conceiving. And these people will sit there and take out their life savings, borrow money, get a loan to try to do everything to have a baby. Meanwhile, a huge portion of us are just sitting here saying, well, not this time, next, I don't want this one, but I want this one. At this point, we got to really take accountability that we're abusing this and this is getting out of control.
Yes.
So again, that's not to say a woman cannot have a choice. Absolutely. But when we're going to start looking at these laws and saying that a woman can abort a child at 6 months, years, the baby between 4 to 6 months can still be aborted. So at that point,
and that's what we stand for. All of us that are so pro-choice, that's what the hell we stand for. We stand for all those children that are 6, 7, there's even 8-month-year-olds that are being aborted, and this is okay by law. By law, this is okay. So we really need to wake up to what we're doing here.
Now,
people are forgetting that part of aborting.
Yeah, that's the thing. And here's the crazy part. And I know people, if you don't have a child, or maybe if you do, they're not going to believe me. But let me tell you something. After my first child, my second one, I actually knew when the baby was conceived. I remember it happening in my body and feeling something. And then I was like, something tells me that I just got pregnant right now. Like, I swear. And then shortly after is when I found out I got pregnant. Now, at that point, in your first baby, you're not sure when you could feel the baby, like whether flutters or what it is. You're not sure yet. But by the time I had my second baby, I remember, I'm not lying to you, I was only probably like 2.5 months, and I felt the baby. Nobody could tell me I didn't. I felt the baby. So what I did is I asked my best friend and I said, yo, is it me or am I bugging, or like I just felt the baby? Whether the baby moved, I don't care how small it is, I felt it, okay? So I felt like a flutter too. And then
I was 19 weeks. I was 19 weeks when I felt my son, and that was my first baby. My first baby. And I know that's what it was because I never felt that before. And I spent the whole night Googling because I'm like, am I bugging out? They tell you como que esto no tiene vida, como que no es nada, but I felt it. Yeah.
Like, what, 4 months? They say something like that? With my second
one,
I mean, with the third one, I felt it also. It was like 2 months in, and I said, I feel it. I feel the baby. I can feel the baby. Let me tell you something. Not only that, I have seen pictures of babies that are 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and maybe they can be tiny like that, but there's a whole form of a body there, okay? There's a whole form of a body there. So we have to think about that just because we can't visually see stuff in what makes us comfortable and feel safe inside, that doesn't exist.
Yes.
It does exist, you know? Like,
and also,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. We sometimes want to say like, oh, you're judging. These comments might sound judgmental, but you have to understand what it is that we're saying. These are things that are factual. You can see a baby. Let me. I don't want to go into that too much because my babies. Let me go over here. They don't hear me. But that's why I didn't go, because they were kind of around a little bit, and I didn't want to go into my private. But when I did mine, right, babies, yours is on top of the table over there. Okay, sorry. When I went through also, right, not just one time. I didn't say how many, but it wasn't. That's why I feel free to speak, because I come from the perspective of someone do it. So I'm not here to judge you. I'm just here to educate you, because I needed that education. I needed that education. When I realized the immensity of what I had done, I felt like I needed to grieve. I needed to grieve because I lost the life of one of my children. And a lot of people don't understand that. And what I was feeling after, it was so bad, because I had a friend that was like, oh, I got you, whatever. I was with this person for 5 years. It wasn't like a random person. It wasn't like, but something in me told me I didn't want to be with this person, and I ignored all those signs. Something in me told me this is not the person you need to be building a family with. This person might end up being crazy one day. And I still didn't listen to myself. So it's that intuition that once we're aligned, but my body was telling me, my soul was telling me. And so I regret the lack of knowledge during that situation, but I don't regret my decisions because I know I needed it at the moment, you know? But I will say, I was so connected to nature and aligned with myself that I wasn't put to sleep. I opted out of that. I felt the whole thing, and that little thing got extracted out of me while I was awake. And I felt the whole process. And what my body felt after that is something that I would never wish on anybody else, you know? But I say that because I never said that out loud to anybody. But because of what you said, I was like, I need to voice that because, you know, you said like they put you to sleep and then you wake up. Like, no, I was like the whole time. I wanted to be aware. I wanted to know what I was doing. Wow. And even though I went through all of that, I went to my grandma's house to hide away. My grandma knew something was wrong. She was like, oh, you can't be crying like this on your menstruation. That's not what this is. And she just kept asking me, and I just was ignoring everything and wanted to be left alone, but I did it all by myself. My aunt and my grandma helped me with the emotional feelings after. They tried to take care of me because my aunt was holding my hand through this whole process. Like, she didn't go with me, but she was there with me after everything, and she helped me. So it's like, I'm not here to judge anybody else's decisions because I've made them myself. But I know what type of mindset I made those decisions on. And I know what type of information I needed to veer away from this information because my gut was telling me. My intuition was telling me. My spirit was telling me. My ancestors were telling me. Because my grandma kept saying certain things and she didn't even know what really was going on. You know, so once that happened and I was disconnected from that spirit, because that's what happened, now in full context, I can make those like analogies now because I understand what was happening. I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't stop crying. I never cried in my life ever unless I was like hurt, like physically. But I was that type of person that I just never cried, and I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't stop crying. And every time I went to the bathroom and I peed and I saw blood, I would cry even more and cry and cry and cry and cry and cry. And then after all of that, I talked myself out of that. It wasn't that I talked myself out of it. I was like, no, that's it. You did what you did, that's it. Cut it out and go move on and go. And I cut myself so hard that I went and did it again. And this time I needed to be numb. And I walked out of there like nothing happened. And I went about my day. Not understanding the magnitude and the etymology of what I had just done. Like when I look at it and I really, who the hell did I think I was? What the hell was I trying to do? Mm-hmm. So I wanted to share that so everyone understands we don't come from a judgmental perspective or what choices you need to be taking, because I made my choice and I stand my ground to my choice and I know what I did. But I also had to go through an emotional process after that, which we are skipping as women. And that's what I did.
Problem that everybody wants to fight pro-choice, but then what happens after you made that fucking choice?
Nobody.
Where's the fucking into that? Where's the fucking discussion about what happened? What happens is we sit at home and we eat at ourselves and we beat ourselves up for the decisions that we made, that if we were so sure on it and we felt so great about it, we wouldn't fucking feel guilty. It wouldn't resurface inside of us. Over and over. Now again, I don't regret nothing in my life because I made the decisions based on where I was at mentally at that time. So there was no changing my mind. But what I have learned as I've grown older is that I cannot make decisions without being in full conscious and awareness, especially big decisions like that in life. I can't make decisions like that. Why? Because I have to respect my body on what it can do to it. Okay? It's gonna chemically fuck with my head. It's gonna fuck with my depression. It's gonna resurface my PTSD. It's gonna resurface my anxiety. It's gonna resurface my guilt inside. Okay? All these things is why so many people project to other people their pain. And that's why there's so many evil people in this world. And there's so many judgmental people in this world, because people are fighting their own demons of what they have done inside and the decisions that they have made. So you have to understand that one thing about me and Danesha, and I'm gonna say this, and it may sound cocky, but it is what it is, because truth is truth. And one thing about me and her is that we have never settled when it comes to our state of mind and our consciousness. We have never accepted, regardless of when we were younger, we went along with things, but there was always something inside of us that pulled us to stop us and say, you sure about that? You know what I mean? And because of that, we've always searched for more, right? We've always searched for more. So when we're coming to you and saying certain things, we're not coming from the emotional standpoint of where most people are coming from. We're coming from a healed standpoint now. We were able to dissect the past, the decisions we made in the future, and how the past decisions have affected the decisions we made in the future. Okay? So that's to say that abortion I had did affect me when I became a parent, because now I started to think about, who did I let go of? Who was calling for me that I needed, that I said, no, I don't want you here? Who? Because my children have taught me so much about myself in ways that I cannot even fucking explain. I read an abortion doesn't make a baby go away. You will forever think of that baby, love that baby, and more. Yes, exactly. Emotionally, that stays with us. And I look at my children and I realize that I didn't grow like full speed, like nothing came full circle of who I am as a person until I fucking had my children. Okay? And this, again, this is not to knock anybody that can't have children, that can't say that you can't find your purpose or any of that. Please don't take anything like that. But for those that do want to have children and end up having children, know that they teach you so much about yourself, because they are here to teach you something. You are not here to teach them about anything. You're just here to guide and protect them. I talk about this in my book. You are simply a port. You know, like a port when they come at the dock and they just come to get their materials and get the stuff they need so they can keep on their journey and doing what they're doing. That's what we are as parents. We are the portal from down here as they come into physical life, and then we stay as the port. We are the dock they will keep coming to. Okay? And as they keep coming to us, this is how we grow in our dock. Okay? That dock becomes more powerful. More people gravitate towards it. Why? Because that's the special dock that's going to guide the people, guide the world. These children are the future. And if each dock is aligned within themselves, in their full awareness, in their consciousness, then they're going to guide their children to make conscious, aware decisions, not programmed decisions. Okay? We all come from an era where we didn't even have this many channels on cable. Okay? We only had a certain amount of things on TV. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have Google. We didn't have any of these things. So there was no way to find a support system when women were going through these things. So what happened to those women that went through these things and had nobody to talk to? Didn't have a live like this that they could watch a video and say, oh my God, they understand me. I also feel this way. I do agree that everybody should have a choice, but damn, I ain't gonna lie, the one I had affected me and nobody talked about it to me. So many young little girls are going through this, and we're just saying, oh, it's fine, you didn't kill a baby, it was just a fetus. Let's stop that already. Let's stop that, because that's how we are not taking accountability for what we are doing. We know that sometimes, yes, it's gonna happen. Okay, I get it. Take a look at those numbers yourself. Do your research. 99% probably of those are not, I'm going to say 95% of those are just off using it as birth control. And I know a lot of people praise that and they consider that. How can you say that when birth control is to control the birth? It's not to do it afterwards. It's to control before you have a baby, right? So when you have birth control pills, like pills, IUD, whatever you have, what do? You stop the sperm from going into the egg so it doesn't fertilize it, right? You don't let it fertilize it and then kill it. That's not what happens in birth control. So how can we classify something as birth control when we're doing two separate things?
Yes, exactly.
We're allowing the thing to be a living cell before we terminate it, okay, whatever you want to call it, right? But that's not birth control. That's not controlling the birth. You already have the baby there. That's
yeah, exactly.
Controlling.
I'm glad that you said that, because I think also we're lost in the terminologies and we are also skipping steps. Like, we want to have all these conversations about, oh, what's right, what's wrong. First of all, what got you in the position of getting one in the first place? Let's talk about that before we start talking about whether it's a right or not. Let's go back a little bit and have proper conversations. Hey, babe, she hit herself. So that's where I feel like a lot of people have trouble. Let me see. You're fine, okay? Go. She just needs a kiss. But we skip, like that's why I tell people, I'm like, you guys we're ready to fight and everything, but it's like, why don't we just take a few steps back? Might not even have to fight, because we could probably solve it by just figuring out how you got there in the first place. That's what I mean. Because let me tell you something, in the Dominican Republic, some women don't even take birth control because they have counting their days down to a T. These women only get pregnant if they want to get pregnant. A lot of these women in the Dominican Republic, they only get pregnant if they want to. Now, why did we deviate from that? Because those are things que le enseñan en campo. Those are things that are taught like in the country. So if the that doesn't have access to all this stuff that people like to say, how do they have more control over things that you have more access to internet, more access to books, more access to doctors, more access to all this knowledge that we are paying to get? So how is it that they have it down to a T, to a science, and we can't figure that out? And science can't figure, and a doctor can't figure that, and a nurse can't figure that out. Like, bro, where y'all at with the body anatomy? Where y'all at? So it's like, we want to have conversations about that without the root.
Yeah. Exactly. Look, I have 3 children. I'm not gonna lie to you. Right now, I don't want to have another child right now. I don't, right? However, if I do, I'm okay with that as well. If that makes sense. Yeah. Now, with that being said, I am not sitting here fucking every day acting a fool to have more chances of getting pregnant, because I know that's not where I want to be right now, right? So what I have been starting to do now is really starting to understand my body, understanding my cycle properly, okay? Charting everything, knowing when I'm at a higher risk of conceiving, and knowing when I'm at a lower risk. So I'll know when I'm at the high risk, Papi, we're not doing that. Like, it's not going down here anywhere, you know what I mean? We can do other stuff.
Options, because that ain't gonna be.
We shut down here for now, you know what I mean? Like, we ain't gonna do that. And that's the thing. We're being more responsible, we're being more aware, because I understand that right now that's not what we really want to do. But again, if it would happen, it's not like we're in a position that we're like, no, oh my God, we can't do this. Like, it's not like that, you know? But I know that not everybody has that situation. But at the same time, I don't know. My dad he's always been one to tell me that no matter what in life, everything works out. And what I will say is that he's been right every time. I do know that we sometimes worry so much about so many things that didn't even happen yet, but just the possibility of them happening, right? We think of all these worst case scenarios and go crazy with that, and then they never happen. And everything ends up working out. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I know that not every situation will be peaches and cream like that with people who have children. I know that there's women that will have these children and they will be in an unhealthy environment. They will not be safe. You know, I'm aware all that can happen. But again, all those stuff that we're talking about can be avoided if we start getting to the root of why our people are in the situation that they are in, that they are not financially stable to have another child, that they are not mentally stable to have another child, that they are not in healthy relationships. Majority of people are not in healthy relationships. They are with somebody because they feel they need somebody. There's a difference there. I don't need my husband. I'm with him because I love him and I enjoy what I have with him, but I don't need him where I'm lost without him. I know who I am as a woman. At the end of the day, he's an individual, I'm an individual. I found my own happiness within myself, and he found that within himself. So we're two healed people that are happy, and when we come together, we're powerful. But if you got two people that are not within themselves healed and dealt with their shit, all they're gonna do is project, and it's a recipe for disaster. And then they have children, and what do their children witness? What my parents did: project, hate each other, fight each other, and we have no sense of what an actual healthy relationship is between two people. We think that it has to involve struggle, that it has to involve suffering. We think that in order to get to our happiness, we have to go through all these things first that are going to destroy us inside before we get to that level of happiness. I need us to stop thinking that way, because that is why majority of people suffer from depression, anxiety, PTSD, postpartum depression, all these things, because we have lost our sense of self. So stop, like Danesha said, stop jumping the gun to pro-life, pro-choice, pro this or that, because at the end of the day, first of all, both parties are hypocrites. Both parties are hypocrites, because the ones, those whatever you call them, that be screaming pro-life, how dare you, how dare you, how dare you, they'll be the first ones to judge you on some other shit and kill something else.
Exactly.
They'll be the first ones to kill a black body real quick. You know, them white crazy people that be like, pro-choice, how dare you, you murderer. But they won't have a problem when the cop kills a black little boy in the street.
Exactly.
So, you know what I'm saying? So let's also not classify these psychotic fucking people that are posted on TV, so you can have a program, you know, I mean, already an assumption of people that think that say they're pro-choice. You already have an assumption of what type of people they are. You're like, oh my God, they're one of those people without even really understanding. And then you have the ones that say pro-choice, 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 pro-choice. But they'll, once again, those same people will have no problem killing something or killing an animal, killing anything else, okay?
Or supporting mandates.
Okay? We talk about Black Lives Matter, DK, all these lives matter, they're all this shit. So we're just gonna forget about the fact that when they're in the womb, that's a life. That's a life. Okay? All I'm asking is for women especially to be more aware of what this process actually entails before, during, and after, and then also after that when you have children. Not only that, I hear so much that a man should not tell a woman what to do with her body. And although I do feel that these old white men should not be telling us what to do, period, not even just in that, in anything, we should not be listening to these old white people, Biden, all these people crying. I don't need to listen to none of these old motherfuckers, because they don't relate to my struggle, what I've been through, who I am. None of those people. They are there for themselves and their own selfish reasons. Yeah. Now, for a woman to say that a man does not have a say in an abortion is hypocritical, because you only have that fucking baby inside of you because he ejaculated inside of you. So without him, you can't have no baby. So you chose. We also have to remember, not only do women go through things when they have an abortion, the father that actually has some fucking sense to him, okay, and a conscience, is also going through something on what happened of their girlfriend terminating that child that they had. Even though they both agreed that that was the best decision, they both go through it, whether it's separately because the men don't talk about stuff, or maybe they talk about it together. Me and my husband, as we got older and we matured, we were able to talk about it together before we had children, and then after we had children, we had an even deeper conversation. It was like, wow, like we were wilding. What were we thinking? You know what I mean? We weren't thinking, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? And we started to dissect why we did what we did. And we realized that wasn't even us. That wasn't even us. But at the same time, it's like so many women don't want to include the man, and it's like that's their baby too. I understand that we go through the actual physical labor of it,
but it's literally
these men are connected to that baby too. That soul is connected to them.
like, hold on to the whole physical idea that we literally make our decisions based on that. And it's like, I know a lot of women that go and get their bodies done. I know a lot of women that go get their teeth done. I know a lot of women that you know what I'm saying? Like, we put our bodies to hell, period. And you want to hold on to the idea of your birth being, because you're going through it physically. Like, you want to hold on to that and be like, well, I get to make all the decisions. And it's like, no, you're the vessel, but that's not my problem that you're the vessel. That's your fault. You're the woman. That's another, like, I think as women, first of all, desde chiquita, we're taught to not appreciate the fact that we're women. I think that if I would have been offered the idea of my uterus when I was in my 20s, I think I would have grabbed it. Because that's how not having children I was. Mind you, I had a little sister, and I was literally obsessed with her, and I still didn't make the connection that was just something that was nature to me. You know, so as women, don't hate the woman. Be obsessed that you're the woman, because we're different, and we're different for specific reasons. Not just any soul can come into the world and be a woman. It's a privilege. It's a privilege to create. It's a privilege to manifest your love and create a human being out of that. You create the body for those children. You are God. Like, how much closer to God do you need to be other than being a woman? Like, that's the God that you can get. And I think that whole idea, because we're just thinking of the physical aspects of it. And it's like, even then, it's actually not even that painful. It's actually just super uncomfortable and hard work. But guess what? We've been indoctrinated to believe. We've been indoctrinated to believe that we can get our body back. We've been indoctrinated to believe now we gotta be responsible for people just like broke babies, broke friends, and that's what we keep thinking about our children. And it's like, yo, you don't think of your mom like that. When you think about your mom, you're not like, oh, damn, I was her broke, blah, blah, blah. No, you're grateful of everything that your mom did for you. And then when you separated from that even further, you were able to notice of the things that she did for you that you were upset about. That now you can have that perspective. So it's like, we also have to understand our genetics. We have to understand our DNA, because it's the reason why we're all going through like all these is because y'all have to procreate. That's nature to you. You want to procreate, you don't even know. You can't even put a finger on those feelings to know that that's what your body is asking you for. You want this man wants the baby, because if not, you wouldn't have chosen. You have to understand the responsibility. We choose the sperm. We choose the sperm. That no sperm can if we don't decide. That's why you can have sex with a man and have sex with a man and have sex with a man and not get pregnant. You know, separating from like fertility issues. A lot of women just know deep down, their spirit knows that's not a man that they would like to have a family with. And guess what? They get with someone, they're aligned, and then they have a baby in a week. You know what I mean? Like, it's because we don't understand. We have the urge to procreate because that's embedded in our DNA. That's what we do. And we're trying to separate ourselves from that mission. That's your job. You come here to do. Forget about everything else. Forget about everything. Fix yourself.
We would cease to exist if we didn't procreate. This world will be done.
So I don't know why this whole agenda of not wanting women to have babies. Why? So y'all could be comfortable. I don't get it. You know, because we have to understand the type of government that we're dealing with also. Like, they're willing to give the same money that you would need to raise your child. They're willing to give it to a whole ass different people to raise your child for you. You know how many women go to jail and they get their children taken away because they go to work while their children are sleeping at home? And then they rather take the children away and make the mothers support that and pay. So, okay, I went to jail because I didn't have any support system to help me with my child. I actually want my child, to the point that I work when they're sleeping, and then you're gonna take that child away. And on top of that, now I also have to fund it, even though I still don't have my children. So what is going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to take a step back and realize that we're getting played. That's what we're not realizing. We're
getting played. We're not getting to the root. And to go even deeper than that, you know, for most people know, most people don't, that Planned Parenthood started with Margaret Sanger, who her agenda was to exterminate Black people. Literally. This is the foundation. I don't care if they say they don't believe in that shit. Now they have a whole disclaimer on the fucking website, whatever. At the end of the day, everything we talk about this all the time is energy, right? So there is an energy, a force that has traveled through those places on what intention was. Because at the end of the day, everything is about intention. Yeah. Everything is about your intentions on what you're doing, right? So if their intentions was to exterminate us, because we know how these people feel about us, okay? And then they painted this beautiful picture of you know, reproductive care for women and all these things, and all what started happening was that now a good 80% of women deal with infertility issues in this country, okay? Have reproductive issues, even if they can't, but just have general reproductive issues like cysts and endometriosis and all these other problems. Where are these problems coming from? They're not just coming from just out of nowhere. These are not normal things. We are suffering from so many things as women. Why are also so many women at high risk when they give birth? Okay? Why is the institution that people praise so much, these hospitals, why are they the #1 in infant mortality and maternal mortality in the world? Okay? Why? You have to think about these type of statistics that are not given to you on your Channel 5 news or your CNN news. They're not talking about these things to the degree that we're talking about things. So you're not even aware. That's why we're so like fucked up in society that somebody like me that decided to do a home birth was looked at with like 12 fucking eyes. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Are you crazy? And it's like, no, I'm actually fucking thinking. I'm actually thinking that I'm not high risk. I have a safe home to have it in. I have a hospital a mile away just in case. I have the financial situation to do it. This is where I feel more safe. I was able to make those decisions for myself. Nobody should be making, when we talk about my body, my choice, really? So why don't you make your choice when it comes to all these things with your pregnancy? Why you got to listen to somebody else tell you, no, you can't do this. No, you have to take this shot. No, really? Because you're not making no choices with your body at that point. But we're okay to make the choice of, let me kill my baby or let me not kill my baby. But I'm not going to make the choice of whether I want to have a natural birth, whether I want a home birth, whether I want a hospital birth, whether I want a midwife, whether I want a doula, whether I want whatever the fucking case is. Anything that has to do with birth, we should be making full conscious, aware decisions based on our studies, our knowledge, our experience. We're not doing that. People are not these abortions just to have them. We can't do that because psychologically something is happening in here. Now, if you could tell me that you do this and it don't mean nothing to you, then I'm sorry. I'm gonna need you to go to some healing real quick, because whether you think you're not dealing with it, you're projecting that in some way, shape, or form. Okay, that's like anybody.
It's chemistry.
You're gonna have a conscience about it. Okay, when we do things that are outside of our nature, that shit eats us up inside. Now, we want to dismiss it. We want to ignore it. Why? Because you want to say, no, I didn't do it. I just made the choice within myself. I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to make the choice. Absolutely. Listen, I'm very grateful I had that choice.
I'm grateful.
I am very grateful I had that choice. Now, had I been in a state of more awareness and consciousness, I would have not made that choice. I would have not made that choice and I would have worked it out myself. Now, that same money that is being funded for these programs to say, you know, you can have an abortion up to 6 months, 8 months, that is bananas to me. Why can that funding go to funding these communities of where abortions are taking place the most at? Why is Planned Parenthood mainly in the hood with our low income families that they know can't do it, right? They know that these people are going to be irresponsible. They know all that stuff. So it's like, why can't we take that money and allocate it to these families to teach them financial literacy, to teach them about the anatomy of the body, to teach them about what abortion actually does to your body, and is this something you want to take a risk on? You know what I mean? Being informed about your decisions. We do not have informed consent. We never are having informed consent with these medical professionals. No, and people don't see that.
Another thing that I want to add real quick, you also, like, this one thing that was extremely hard for me to come to. Like, I had to take a step back for a few months before digging into the subject again. But we also need to educate on ourselves on what they do with those babies after. Because that's a whole other thing.
If there was that, so why do they keep them and experiment all day with them?
Exactly. A lot of women are not aware. And I do think that if we also made women aware of what happens after, they might think about it a little more, because you just don't know. There are some places that will extract that baby out alive and do things with that baby for I don't know how amount of time.
When
and if you need,
they have to have the baby out alive because they need the living cells in order to test them.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So it's like this whole perspective that we got on, like, oh, people are crazy, they're religious and blah blah blah. It's like, no, this is way deeper than that. This is a spiritual
this has nothing to do with religion.
And we're dismissing it as in it's just like a rock or something, which a rock actually does have vibration and frequency. Yeah, so we wouldn't even be
it is a rock too.
You know, but it's like we're also forgetting that there's also things like there's a certain responsibility that we need to hold. And it's like we're not finding out what happens to that baby after. We're not figuring out if they keep it alive. We're not figuring out if they're using it for some type of medicine that's actually killing people. We don't know anything. It could be healing people. It doesn't matter. You need to know that. And we're taught to just wash our hands and wipe ourselves of the dirt and walk away clean. When we don't realize we're dumping that dirt into ourselves because we're not addressing it. We're not aware. We're not conscious. And there is going to be a time where that consciousness is going to click. And all the events are going to start pouring into you. And you're going to be like, holy shit, what was I doing? Holy crap. And that's another thing, that we don't even look at that whole aspect of the situation at all.
Yep. I'm going to say one last thing here because I know the kids are waiting for me. But you know, what I want people to know is when you're going to fight for something, know exactly what you're fighting for. Let's stop being, I know when you were younger, all your parents, most parents would tell you, don't be a follower, be a leader. Well, the truth is that thanks to social media, majority of people are just followers. They're just following. The same thing as just reposting without even knowing what they're saying, right? Or following a movement without even really understanding what they're doing. You're just being followers. You're not being a leader. You're not being a leader. Listen, I don't give a fuck about to impress anybody anymore. Okay? At the end of the day, like I said, I don't follow this crowd. I don't follow this crowd. I follow this right here. And I follow this right here. And what this tells me is that we are fighting for something that we need to fight for something else first before we get to that part. There's so much more fights that we have ignored that we need to go back a little bit further before we step into this, okay? Understand your medical history and where it came from. Understand the gynecology system and where it came from. It came from the abuse of Black women, okay? They said that Black women could not feel pain, and they would do the clamp, the thing that you go when you go to your GYN appointment. They would do that stuff and do all these different procedures on women with no anesthesia, okay? That is how your gynecology, the people that run the biggest New York hospitals, for gynecology, for all that stuff like that, came from people that were torturing women. Okay, you have to look at insurance companies. They are so quick to cover an abortion before they cover a home birth. Okay, you got to think about all these things that they're willing to give you, but at what price? At what price does their health care that they want to provide to women come from? Do your research on Puerto Rico, when they said they were doing family planning and showing up to places, and when they would get over there, they would tell them, you've had enough babies, and they would
fertilize them?
Yeah, make it. Yeah, they would what's it called? They would do the operation on them to sterilize them, basically.
Yeah.
So
against their will.
Against their will, because they were informed. They thought it was reversible. A lot of these women, you can go online, it's called La Operación. If you go on YouTube, they thought they were just having like a temporary birth control. They didn't realize they were being sterile and they would never have babies again. And these were women in their 20s, young women. Okay, so we gotta stop following a system. I don't care what politician it is that is built off the destruction of our people. Okay, before you get to that point, let's start to dissect where they've taken us throughout the years when they came into play, and how this has affected us as women, as birthing women, as women who are, having abortions, as single mothers, as people in great marriages, as people in horrible. This has done something to us as a whole. Let's get to that first before we get to this other decision that you're sitting there screaming pro-choice, pro-choice, pro-life, pro this, and you don't even know what you're saying. Okay, we're two women who have both, who have done both, who see both sides. Okay, yeah. So there's no judgment. What we're doing here is we need to have these conversations, because women are not having these conversations. They're just saying, no man should tell me what to do with my body, and this is so wrong because now people have to travel to get an abortion, have to do this. What happened to the other part? They could do a lot of other stuff before we get to that point. Okay, so yeah. Let's start really fucking thinking, because that's the problem with our people. We don't think, we copy. We're like little kids, just copying. And we don't question. We don't want to do work. We don't want to put it. We don't want to do the work. We don't want to use discernment. We have to make hard decisions. We don't want to make hard choices. And then, as long as we do them according to what other people say, then we have somebody to blame. That's the problem. That's the problem. You can't blame yourself because you didn't make the decision. Yep. But I do think that one of the things that we forget is being in tune with nature, because I think God made no mistake. And one of the things that he did was keep birth wild. And it's the one thing that ties back to nature, no matter how modern you want to be. When you give birth, no matter how much money you have, it's going to be the same way. Even if you numb yourself, you still have the after effects of the birth. You still have if you want to understand, exactly, if you want to understand your body, start with learning of birth. Starts with conception. It doesn't end with conception. It starts with it. Because once we understand how that got in there, then we'll understand the damage that we're doing by removing that baby out of there. You're playing God. You're playing God, and that's not your role. That's not the type of God you came to be here. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we also have to remember that everything has a place. And who the fuck do we think we are doing these decisions without educating ourselves? That's crazy. It's bananas. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you were saying, instead of going with the flow on everything, pay attention to your feelings. Listen to yourself. Every single one I talked to that did it explains the feelings that they went through the whole process. This is not new. This is not different. Unless it was some crack, no lie, like legit somebody on crack or heroin, they remember their feelings vividly and they didn't want to go through with it. Every single woman that I've spoken to, and I've spoken to every woman that through mine. Me too.
You know what I'm saying?
Me too.
So it's like, that's when I spoke to you and I was like, thank God that we're
one that like Yeah, I haven't met one that has been like, nah, it was cool. I didn't think about that shit. I thought that was good.
Yeah,
not
it
one.
was not.
You know what I hear? I didn't say anything because nobody talks about this, but this shit is fucking me up inside. That's what happens.
You hear the most. So I
the
also want to, any woman that's thinking about it, have conversations with us. Even don't try to have too many with women that have, because they want to support you. So they're going to give you the good parts of it. You know, try to have them with women that didn't at all ever. That were like, yo, I just had the baby and I just figured it out along the way. Because like I said, even if a woman comes to me, I'm
both, like both.
Exactly. Like, I'm gonna be honest, and I'm gonna be like, yo, I went through it, but I don't want to recommend that shit to nobody. Honestly, I don't recommend it unless you're dying or your baby's dying already and you want to make it faster.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's like, at this point, it's not the decision within itself is black and white. Now, the decisions that help you get there are not black and white.
No.
So I want to also be clear on that. Like, we're very clear on that. We know everybody has a different situation and that those things need to be talked about, but that's the thing, they need to be talked about. You know, because the overall picture of it is super black and white. There is no gray areas. It's either good or you think it's bad. There's no in between of the final decision. You know, like, if you are feeling through that, and I don't know if maybe we resonated with something that you're going through, you can hit us up. But don't go through it alone, because if you share enough with enough women will come back to you and tell you that that's exactly what they went through also. So you're not alone. And we're literally sat, it's like we sat in an empty room. We all experienced the same thing and we refused to talk about it. And when we left that room, we told everyone it was an amazing experience. So we're a bunch of liars, we're a bunch of hypocrites, and we're not being honest with our fellow women about what's really going on when we go through the situation. And there's a lot of danger in that, because that's the same way we got to the perspective that birth is all like snap back and that's it. That's very dangerous. Tread those waters.
Yeah.
So we have to go back to the idea that communicating with each other so we can get real insight. That's the key point. Also, stop listening to these key points. Stop listening to Stop listening to. Start talking to your community
together as a community, and really talk about where we can start fixing real issues. Because we can't wait for them to save us. They're just gonna say, just do that. That's it. That's gonna be their option all the time. And we have to find other ways. You know, even for the women that maybe are in those situations in Texas right now where they feel like, oh my God, what is happening? You know, there should be now, you know, counseling on what are the other options for these women. How can we help these women? How can we fund programs to maybe eliminate that they can be in a situation where they feel that they have to go now, find a place, go to another state, yada yada yada. You know what
I mean? I wanna also, before we go, but that law also, a lot of people are talking about it very much in general without ever researching what's detailed into the law, right? So technically, you can still, if your life is at risk, no matter of that law or not, it's written in there, you can have an abortion.
Okay.
If your baby has, if you haven't detected the heartbeat, you can also get an abortion. So it's like, honestly, if we're fighting and going against that bill, we're actually fighting to extend the life of how long you can abort that baby. In reality, it should be, if you're gonna do it, let's be honest, it should be in that very, very, very small window that you have in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? So in actuality, the law didn't say anything wrong so far, and I think actually that it was supported by private citizens, which means that the community support asked for this bill, and that speaks a lot for that, you know. And that's another thing that we're getting blinded by these, because I know we usually don't look into laws. We see things in general because we're like, you know. But if we really want to dig deep, I do certainly, because I'm still in the system, I still search things up to the T, because I need to know, because they do actually affect me when I'm in the process, you know. But if you really read causing all this commotion just to cause hate between people and to cause even more like hate and division towards other and division, exactly. Well, if you actually the community asked for it, so who the fuck are you to community needs and what she doesn't need. Actually, that goes against everything that we've been fighting for.
Right.
Of us actually debating what our future is gonna look.
If it's not one of those extreme circumstances, I think there has to be a full psychological evaluation for this person to fully understand what they're doing and seeing if they're in the mental capacity to deal with the aftermath of what comes with this, or will this really take a toll on them? You know what I mean? We don't know how many women maybe it's take a toll on that afterwards they killed themselves. We don't know how many women, we don't know what happened to all these women that have done this that had no one to turn to. Yes. We don't know because they don't talk about these things. So the same way that when people want to be a different sex or do different things, don't they go through like a full psychological thing for a few years before they can change stuff, right? Let's do the same thing for when somebody's wanting to do that. Because it's that serious too. Is that fucking serious too? Let's not make it lightly. It's that serious too. You know, but I'll leave y'all with that. Hope you guys enjoyed this. We are always here to give you a different perspective, judgment-free zone. We are very raw. We share our own experiences. So as you can see, we're not trying to act like we're better than anybody. We've been on all these levels. We've been on every fucking level. That's why we created this, because we feel that we have enough experience, good and bad, throughout this journey of motherhood, that we are able to open this window for these women that are scared to talk about these kind of things, but they do feel it. So know that we're here. Hit us up anytime. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. Thank you to everybody who tunes in during and after, and have a beautiful day.
Bye.